Brill. Right, guys, thank you so much again for joining the 4th seminar at the Hub. Again, designed by Sarah. She can't be with us tonight. She is at Reformer Pilates, so I'm going to be delving into this one myself. I have both been through a lot of nights out, a lot of drinking, a lot of alcohol, and I've had a hell of a lot of hangovers as well. So the insights come directly from ourselves, myself and Sarah. I'm sure you guys can resonate with some of what we're about to go into as well. Ask plenty of questions. Let's try and keep it quite moving back and forth between one another. I don't want to just constantly talk at you. If you've got any information you want to add to this as well, please feel free to share. So we're going to move on. We're going to show you the 4 key pillars in which we believe are going to help you understand the lead up to a night out or an event, the day of that event, the night of that event, and the day after, which is the hangover, essentially. So let's move straight into the week before, guys. We're going to split each one into do's and don'ts categories, okay? So first of all, who came to the nutrition seminar way back when on the first one? What is, and you guys who are the fundamental clients, what is the fundamental nutrition practice we put in place when it comes to your calorie intake and your foods? What's the one thing we do? I apologize for that. Flexible dieting. So we believe flexible dieting is one of the most incredible tools that can allow you to socialize, allow you to drink, allow you to eat out. And that's one thing that we would suggest doing whilst consuming alcohol. So let's go straight into the do's. The biggest thing that I used to do when I used to drink Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And I would know straight away once I got into that routine, how many beers I would have on Thursday, Friday and Saturday if that was in the controlled environment. So I knew how many calories I'd consume. I'd track that in advance. I'd know there'd be 2 beers on a Thursday, 4 beers on a Friday with some gin in there, and then Saturday again was a bit of a free-for-all because we might have some cocktails. Me and Elle used to heavily drink with one another. Not that that was an issue, but because I still had physique goals and I had performance-based goals for my training, I had to stay on top of the calorie allowance for that. So once we knew that information, we can understand how many more calories we're consuming on top of the food intake itself. So I know that over the course of that week, we're going to have to balance the calories out, i.e. flexible dieting. That could come from increased expenditure. It could be from reducing calorie intake overall. But don't be in that mindset of allowing yourself to go too low on calories, i.e. 800 to 1,000, just to accommodate an extra super high weekend of 3,000-4,000 calories. That's going to hinder what? What will that do if you go low through the week too much? You'll maintain, yeah. You'll crave everything. Performance will drop. Tired, energy, lethargy, all for this big one event on the weekend, which is great, but in the long run, is it actually worth what you're putting yourself through the week? Allow this information to make you realistic about your goals. So when I was doing this, I always used to think, something's not complementing where I want to be and how I want to feel based on reducing through the week in order to have a splash out at the weekend. It wasn't complementing who I wanted to be, how I wanted to feel, the things that I wanted to achieve, whether that was business, whether that was personal, whether it was physique goals. I needed to have a long, hard, realistic look, and potentially I started by just reducing the amount of alcohol I was consuming, just so then I weren't eating into my calorie allowance for the week. I would still drink, but not in the copious amounts that I were. So is there anything that you already do on these aspects when it comes up to the week before? Is there anything that you guys take from that straight away? Or not? Almost all of them? Yeah. Brilliant. And again, I can see that from Harriet's check-in. She's very, very good at balancing that out, as is Callum. If they're having a drink on a weekend, they're great at being able to balance these calories out. Once of a day, if you weren't tracking, that could have been sky high. Oh, yeah. And I presume it would have been. Absolutely. So let's move on to the don'ts. Again, we worked on that through the week. Don't starve yourself just so you can consume a ton of calories on the weekend. Don't overwork in the gym or exhaust yourself. So we have to understand exercise and training is a stressor on the body. If you think, right, I'm going to run a 15K on Friday morning and I'm going to do a gym session and then a gym session on Saturday, you're putting your body under a lot of stress. Plus alcohol, which is a toxin. You're putting yourself under double stress. With dehydration, come Sunday, you are going to be a write-off. You're going to be a mess. You're going to be hungover. So I wouldn't try and exercise any more than what you're currently doing. you've just got to take it on the chin, literally, that essentially you're going to be consuming more calories. It's going to be harder to get out of this hangover state, but certainly don't try and overwork in the gym, because essentially that's going to be harder to get into the routine again come Monday, Tuesday and Wednesday, putting yourself back further, again, where you want it to be from. So again, another one there touching on, which I'm really interested in. Don't miss out on the events that you want to go to. So we're sometimes really quick to, through the week, by habit, by routine, we do all these little things, whether it is drinking. And when it comes to these big social events, we end up thinking about it, that, oh, wow, I don't have the time to do it, or I shouldn't do it. These are the things you really want to be saving yourself for. So don't be saying yes to everything, because we touched on this earlier, didn't we, Louise? You have been invited out tomorrow, but it doesn't necessarily fit within where she wants to be and what she wants to achieve this weekend. She's great for saying yes because she might feel like she's letting people down. And again, I'm like that sometimes. I don't want to let people down, but that's not going to help you get where you want to be. So don't be afraid of saying no to these things and saving yourself for the social events, whether that's a wedding, whether that's a birthday, whether it's Christmas. Is there anyone that tends to drink socially weekly, or do you save yourself for more event type things? What does that look like for you guys? Events? Yeah. Bit at Christmas. So would you class yourself as you binge drink?
Only when I go out, I'll have a quick drink.
Yeah.
But I don't drink in the house.
No.
Because Stephen don't drink.
No. Yeah. I have seen some studies that Dr. Huberman from Stanford University, has anybody heard of him? I've sent some posts about it. He's incredible. He's researching alcohol at the minute. They do say that 14 alcoholic drinks a week is actually not bad from a health benefit perspective. It's based on the frequency of which you drink that. So we tend to drink 14 in the space of 36 to 48 hours, as opposed to, I don't know how many hours there are in a week, but if you spread that out across the week, it's actually not that bad for you. It's when it's consumed in this small frequency of time. So just be mindful of that when you do come to consuming alcohol. I am not condoning drink every single night, because that might not fit within your goals and your routines, but it may have more health benefits and lower the risk of what may come with alcohol over a prolonged period of time if we're doing it in a shorter space of time. Is there anything on there that you guys do on the don't list? Yes.
Sometimes I'll just say I'll drive because I want to go out to a meal.
Yes.
And then if I drive, I can't drink full stop. But I don't want to miss out not going out.
Mm. And what would be your tip to people who struggle to say, I'm going to drive? How can you take yourself out of that situation?
What, since they don't drive?
So they do drive. If they think, I really want to drive this weekend and I should probably drive more to these events, how do you get them to actually cross the line?
Time we out having a drink.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Just say, let's do it. Or say I'll drive as well. Two of you.
Yeah.
Two of you don't drink.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think that does help. Again, by any means, this seminar is not in regards to trying to increase sobriety. It's nothing to do with that. But it's more, how can you just limit the after effects of what alcohol and the binge drinking does have on you. So yeah, I think that's a big one. The putting yourself in the position that essentially it's going to suit you, and you're not going to piss anyone off by saying no to them. If they respect you enough and they love you, etc., they're not going to be fussed about what you say and what you don't do. So just bear that in mind. Remember, it's...
What you do, be honest. Because there's a lot of people can't drink through, or can't drink consumption, great consumption, because of health reasons. Not everybody knows that.
Yeah.
And then they think you're being off with it, or... Yeah,
Interesting.
And I've experienced that this year.
Wow. And how do you deal with that? Do you tell them...
I'm brutal, I just say, yeah, you don't know what's going on in my life, and I've had an health scare this year that basically means that I can have 2 or 3 drinks every so often.
Yeah.
Some people don't get that.
They don't get it, but you'll be alright, don't worry about it.
Just a few drinks.
No, you'll be miserable.
So I'm going to reframe that. were you once that person as well years ago? Potentially, I'm not saying you are, but it's looking from that. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So it's very interesting to put yourself in the shoes where you're in now, because again, I've had people say that to me, but also I know where they're coming from, and I really respect and value that, because it's not that they know any different. Do you know what I mean? So essentially, as long as we can educate them, like yourself, you've said, this is where I'm at with it, at least it takes the grey area out of it, and hopefully they'll take it on board and understand, okay, yeah.
Big drinker because that on a regular occurrence, like we have a few at work, you still don't get it.
No, okay.
Still
Interesting.
don't get the, yeah, it's only once. That's what I get.
Well, you've got one at the minute that's been told not to drink, to stop drinking.
And yeah, he's got kidney problems and basically been told to stop drinking, and he says, well, I don't drink that often. He just goes out every weekend from Friday through to Sunday, and he's sober, he's lucky. But he don't class that as drinking now because he's cut down from all week to 3 days.
Interesting. Maybe giving some insights onto this as well. Again, this isn't talking about the health aspects of it. It's more just opening people's eyes, what they can do to mitigate the response of the toxicity that it does have. That's all. So yeah, it's amazing, isn't it? Looking from external factors, what else people are doing. But I also think you have to go through them things yourself in order to understand it as well. I think that's a big thing. Let's move on to the day of. So the biggest thing for me is the planning and preparation. For me, again, when I was drinking, I knew when I'd be doing it. Mine wasn't an ad hoc on the whim. I would know when I would drink Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Sometimes Sunday afternoon, pop over to Alexander's or the Fountain when that were open. But I'd plan in advance and I'd prepare. So the boring stuff, I know full well. Once I've had a drink. This was an example. We had a cocktail making session at our house, however many, like it was last year at some point. And we got all the food in to make Thai green curry. And at this point, I was absolutely wasted. There was no chance on earth that I was going to be able to cook this meal from scratch. So by that point, I'd already avoided being able to hit all my protein intake goals, hadn't had any vegetables, hadn't had any fruit up until this point, because I was going to get that in my evening meal. So I'd lost out on a lot of nutrients, a lot of good quality foods. I'd also not lined my stomach. So there was a lot of vomit from that particular night, off the back of me starving myself, not getting enough vitamins and nutrients in, which again is a double whammy because we're dehydrated from the alcohol itself. So it's being prepared in advance, even if that comes in a smoothie with some protein powder first thing in the morning, and then even something at lunch. That's something that we should look at doing. Lower your calories early in the day to accommodate the higher calories later. That's the basic principle of flexible dieting. Drinking plenty of water. That's an important one. We are heavily dehydrated after we've had a night on drink. Who's felt like that in the morning after? Do any of you guys drink plenty of water on that day? Do you drink water during that night as you're having alcohol? Try to, and afterwards, yeah. Again, it's so much, like all these things are easier said than done, because once you're having a drink, your inhibitions totally get lost, and it's only until you try it sometimes and you maybe have a pint of water with every 3 drinks, you realise actually it does fairly improve and reduce the hangover the next day. So try and think about that as you're leading up through that particular day, drinking plenty of water. Prepare for the hangover tomorrow. So have that glass of water ready. Have the paracetamols ready. I drink a lot of non-alcoholic beers, and I've found the first time I did that, we was at Alexander's and I was on Peroni's. We came back to Barlick. We had the Beck's Blue. I woke up the next day hungover from whatever's in non-alcoholic beer. It's because I hadn't drank any water. I'd not drank water since I think it would have been 4 p.m. Didn't have any paracetamol. Woke up the next day hungover. So I've learnt from that. I will drink water still within these non-alcoholic beers, and especially before bed as well. Leave it by your side. Leave the house tidy. Prepare healthy food options so it's easy to reach for that. I get straight away, the last thing you want to do is consume a pre-prepped vegetable and chicken meal with broccoli in. It's the last thing we want to do, but at least you've got some options there if you want to. Creating a fake away meal could be a good option as well. We like creating homemade curries that replicate something from Ushman Yar. pizzas, homemade pizzas, have something that almost associates with the takeaway itself, because sometimes it's the thought of having the takeaway that makes you feel a little bit better when you're hungover. The only thing is you're just going to have to increase your effort of cooking that meal itself. But you know full well, putting 2 different pizzas in front of you, the thought of having the flavour one is much better than making your own. But which one's 10 times better, usually? And you always say, we should make this shit more often. So just be a bit more prepared in advance with that. If you're a midnight snacker, so for instance, when I come back after a night out, even when I'm not drinking, I'll come back and I will search the cupboards just because my appetite's increased. I may not have eaten much through that night. Sasha? Dirty kebab? Yeah. Cal? Are you not? Do you just want your bed? So for those who, like for instance, what I'm big on there again is just making sure there's something in the house, so it just eliminates that ability to just go and get a pizza. And I remember, like a lot, I'd grab a 9-inch pizza, I'd get some chicken strips with that and some chips, cheesy chips as well. And if I wanted, I might even go and get some onion bhajis and samosas, and I would devour that and I wouldn't think twice. Inhibitions drop, I'm hungry, and I'll just want to go to bed. Yeah, room spinning. Yeah, so just be a bit more prepared in advance. What can you have that's a little bit healthier, but that still has the association and reward? Yes, you won't be able to go anywhere near anything like that. But yeah, guys, just be a bit more prepared in advance with that. Don't starve yourself all day. Again, we're touching on this flexible dieting. Don't consume 200 calories. That's going to hit you twice as hard. We talk about that aspect of lining your stomach. If you haven't, like, oh, I've not consumed anything all day because I'm going to save myself for the night, 9 times out of 10, you are going to be hammered. You're going to be absolutely wasted. And the day after on that hangover is going to be essentially even worse. Pre-drinking as well, it doesn't actually, if it doesn't add to any enjoyment of what you're doing, like I used to sink a few drinks before I'd then go out to the pub. It's just adding on top of everything that I'd be doing. So I just save myself and I enjoy that first pint around friends, and essentially just limit the amount of calories that I'm having overall. Is there anything that you currently do and that you don't do on the day of you guys drinking, etc.?
Now learn to sort of line the stomach if I was going out for a drink.
Yeah. I think that's the biggest asset. I think it's the water. Yeah, I do genuinely believe that one. So again, just don't forget to hydrate on that day of. So let's move now on to the night. Again, it's easier said than done. Inhibitions are dropping. You are a few drinks deep. You're having some fun. The music's going. I absolutely get that it's not as easy as doing what we're about to say. Drink a glass of water in between drinks, which we've said. Sometimes I used to get a lot of shit for what are you having a glass of water for? We should be having shots instead. If you feel that that's something that there's a bit of peer pressure there, have it up at the bar without anybody there. Drink it, down it, go and take your drink back to the group with everybody, just so it limits if anybody's going to take the piss. Stick to one drink. Sarah's touched on something quite interesting on here. The botanicals in alcohol and tonic drinks all have different a makeup of botanicals, which is that causes 50% of the hangover itself. It's not necessarily because you consumed a shit ton of alcohol. Yes, it is that, but if you're consuming a wine but have 3 different types of wines or different Proseccos or different types of gin, even from a Gordon's to a Hendrick's, that's what makes the difference in regards to how shit you're going to feel the next day. So if you're going to have gin, stick to that one type of gin. Yeah. And again, we'll touch on the cocktails. That comes into it. It's not saying don't drink them, but it's just being mindful. It's the sugar that in them that contributes to how we feel the next day as well, not necessarily the alcohol. So they taste fucking good. I love them. Porn star martinis, they just go down so well. Like I absolutely love alcohol. I love the taste of it. I love the association with it. And then that's why I don't preach this sobriety and no drinking to anybody, because I enjoy it. But right now it doesn't complement what I want to do. again, like I said, stick to that one drink. Eat whilst you're out as well. I remember for my 21st birthday, we were in Newcastle, and I was adamant I was getting food in the middle of the night out before we were going into the club, and it was 1:30 a.m. Went to Subway, got me 12-inch chicken with salad, extra chicken on, because I know that we're going to help see me through for the rest of that night out. Otherwise, it's going to get to 4 a.m. Going to go to McDonald's, going to be absolutely wasted. I'd rather just get a Subway and eat during the night as well. That works for me. Track those dance floor steps as well. If you don't mind wearing your Fitbit, that's how many steps did you guys get up at the 90s night? Thornton Hall. Over 30,000, I bet, all the two-stepping. They all add to our expenditure. And that's why I know a lot of clients will say, oh, I've been out this weekend, oh, shit, but look at all the steps I've done. It adds to it, it absolutely does. So track the steps, move as much as you can during that night out. Don't give in to peer pressure. Remember your goals. Remember it's your goals. Is that extra shot really going to elevate your night that much? What will be the consequence tomorrow? And again, it's easier said than done. February last year, we had a big house party at mine, and I were drinking Sambuca straight from the bottle as my evening drink. It wasn't shots. It was more of that were just my drink for the night. During that moment, it elevated, but Jesus, that's one of the catalysts for me not wanting to drink from February last year. So just think about that. Take yourself out of the moment if you can. What's the consequence tomorrow? Think about that a little bit more in advance. Don't forget to drink water on the way home. Go fuck it at the end of the night and order the biggest pizza in the takeaway. I remember one night walking back from, I think it was my grandma's house with Elle, and we walked past a Village Pizzeria on the town. Sarah and Matt had been on a night out, and he won't mind me saying this, he's absolutely out of it. All fun and games. But in Village Pizzeria ordering his evening meal, and he said, look, listen to all this food that we've ordered. Chicken strips, wraps, fries, there were all sorts there. And he saw me next day and he was like, I can't believe I did that. But you do, in the moment, you do. It tastes good. You might even only have a bite, one or two, and think, fuck this, I'm going to bed. So just be mindful of that. Try not to go fuck it. Hold on to what you've got at home, whatever you've prepared, whatever is there in advance. Try not to mix drinks. Be mindful of your sugary cocktails. Like I said, the sugar in the cocktails is making up half of that issue the next day. Opting for cheap mixers. Again, I didn't know this, but botanicals in Schweppes contribute to 50% of your rough feeling in the morning. If you can spare a little bit of your cash, go for a better quality. Is it Fever Tree? I believe that's a better source of tonic with whatever you're going to drink, guys. So, sorry? Don't put alt in spirits on the rocks, baby. You're an on the rocks type of guy and couple, aren't you? You've told me an interesting fact about, and this is from your own insights. What's the tequila? Tequila is often a drink that's consumed at the end of the night because you think shots. So well, I'm not saying you do, but there's a big association, I used to do it, a big association with fucking hell, that was that tequila that tipped me over the edge and I don't like the taste of it. But if you reframe when and how you drink the tequila, i.e. you guys drink that as more of a social drink, yeah, like a whiskey at the beginning of the night, it actually tastes very good. I can't say I have never had tequila, so I can't comment, but it doesn't leave you with this rough hangover feeling that you're getting that you've just down in these shots at the end of the night. So maybe reframe when and how you're drinking the drinks that you're going to consume. I'd like to say the same about the black Sambuca that I had, but I literally... Do you know the full ones you get from Aldi? Not Aldi, Asda, as the hook up, the pouring thing, bang, just all gone me. Yeah, love it. Oh, I ain't heard of that. Nice. Pernod, love Pernod. Have you not tried it?
I don't like it.
Oh.
Pernod, Grappa, Sambuca, anything like that.
Not your thing? No?
Touch it.
Wow. Anything you guys doing and don't on there already?
I need to drink, it's alright when you go out.
Sorry?
I need to drink when you're out.
My only take on that is having caffeine later on after 2 o'clock. That's the only issue. I used to have Monster and gin because I'd worked a long week on a Friday, and I'd have that to help see me through a little bit later. So again, personally, no, because it's just not going to allow you to sleep, and you need to sleep when you've, yeah, you're out of that. Yeah, I'd personally believe in that. The day after, the hangover. So, yeah, this is the worst. These are the wet times. What's that?
Get outside.
Get outside.
Yeah, and that's where my issue used to be. I always used to think that being in bed till 1, 2 o'clock were going to help cure it, and laying on the sofa with dogs being all over me were going to help cure it. But again, with anything, the more you feel down about things, the more you're going to feel down about that shit feeling. So I'll be honest, I never did this. I could not go out and go for a run. I couldn't exercise. That was one thing I would never be able to do. No matter how strong and disciplined I was here, I weren't going anywhere. I was laying in my house all fucking day. So what tips would you have to be able to go and do that? What's the...
As early as possible.
As early as possible. So as soon as you literally open your eyes, bang, go.
Like 5, 6 o'clock.
Right?
Because after about 10, 15 minutes, but if it's hot, you know. But if it's cold outside or cool, early morning,
You know it's like that.
it's 10, 15 minutes is enough to eat.
Yeah.
And it just settles your stomach.
Nice.
You just get on with your day, get some water, get some breakfast, you're alright. But yeah, you just got, as soon as you open your eyes and get outside.
Awesome. I like that.
See, I'm better in the morning. As soon as I get up, it's later on in the day that I go downhill.
Interesting.
Yeah, I can get up.
What do you do when you get up then? Is there maybe something that's going wrong as soon as you wake up? Or what are you not doing?
I just get up, do a normal get up, have a bit of breakfast. But then the latest day, because I'm
Gets you.
so tired. Just like, and then I need KFC recovery.
Yeah. Do you think that maybe because you've not really drank the water? Maybe? That could be a big thing.
Yeah. I'll have a glass next to bed and then that'll be it. Drink that and then I'll just have like my cup of tea and breakfast. Carry on as a normal day.
It might be worth having a look at that, trying to hydrate again as soon as you wake, whilst you're doing that walk, getting the daylight exposure, whatever you're going to do, get the water with that as well.
When we were younger, when I was drinking, well, it really late on Wednesday night, I used to football train Thursdays. We'd go probably for a run on Friday tea time on the shore, okay. Saturday play football, Sunday play squash in the morning, and then play football on Sunday afternoon. I never know.
Amazing. You are lucky. Go for it. Brill. So for me, I would do this one. Listen to your body. That was where I was at. Because I'd worked mammoth hours, like I needed to just rest, so that's what I would do. But essentially I knew that the exercise and the movement was going to help me get out of that hole. You guys, you've just touched on this. Get up and move eventually. Staying in bed all day is not going to give you any of the feel-good endorphins, simple as that. Eat fruit and veg. I'm not saying eating fruit and veg, but adding a smoothie in will definitely help. And it could be, like for me, I would always crave like Lucozade or Oasis. I remember that. And ice lollies. So you might get some fruit juice in, put some smoothie, you might berries, kale, spinach, etc. Blend it up, have that as soon as you wake up as well. That would be good. Eating that meal you made for yourself as well, that preparation that you've done in advance on that day. Again, it's going to be harder and there's going to have to be a bit of discipline there, but trying to consume that meal that you've already consumed, or that you've already prepped. Allow the treats in your calories as well. So it's inevitable you are going to eat the shit food that is there. Just account for it, get it in the calories, track it, bang it down. Hydrate even though you can't be bothered. Don't feel guilty and don't hate yourself for what you've done, although in that moment, like you're very subjectively taken by what you've done. My biggest thing was blacking out and not remember anything from drinking and alcohol, and I hated that feeling. And again, that was another catalyst for me to come away from it completely. Not knowing who, whatever I was doing, that's not a good position for me to be in personally. So don't hate yourself. Sorry?
I've read that, but it's quite scary now.
It's horrendous.
Yeah.
Alan, really?
Should we bring the wardrobe story up?
Oh, I think you've told me about this.
Once.
Excellent. Don't stuff your face on everything in sight. I'm not kidding. Like, I remember tracking me weekends after I just thought, right, my physique doesn't look how I want it to look. So I tracked, and I was doing about 4,500 calories Friday and Saturday, just on the fact that I was hungover and I was already doing a lot of the alcohol. That was not helping my physique goals at all. Don't punish yourself by going on a 15k run when you're exhausted, unless that's what you do. Like you've said, that's the norm anyway. That's a regular thing. Don't starve yourself because of the calories from yesterday as well. So for me, I always used to just get back to normal as much as possible. Don't sit on it. Don't dwell on it. I coach that with you guys as well, who are clients. All right, write it off, bounce back quickly, and as long as you're making that progress overall, whether or not it is linear, it's just the bigger picture. It's not that one moment. And remembering, we're here to enjoy ourselves as well. That's a big thing. We've got to enjoy ourselves. We don't need to say yes to everything, but we definitely have to enjoy ourselves within that. Let's touch on a few of the vitamins and the foods that, again, are insights that we've learned as we've come along. This is the one word that I'm going to get, but vitamin B complex, I've been told to give what are them shout outs by Mrs. HD herself. Heather does vitamin B12 injections. I'm going to get one actually next Thursday. And that helps replace what was lost. So it's found that B vitamins, and especially the complex aspects, you can see B1s, B12s, B2s, are depleted as we're drinking. So if we can try and increase them and replace them from either supplementation or the foods that you can see there, peas, pork, liver, legumes, cereals, breads, pastas, liver, I've said that, eggs, dark green vegetables, whole grains, and milk. If you can try and add them within, whether it's a smoothie, you'll be replenishing what was lost. N-acetyl L-cysteine helps the production of glutathione, which is an antioxidant. Antioxidants come from all your berries, comes from all your fruits. That's going to help reduce the toxicity of what the alcohol lets off into the system. So when we talk about, can you drink alcohol and still lose fat? You absolutely can, but you've got to understand it's still seen as a fuel. Is alcohol, it is still a fuel. Your body has to break that toxin down and out first before it then even thinks about touching burning body fat, whether or not you're in a deficit. So if you're in a deficit, you will still drop body fat, but at a lot slower rate. So just bear that in mind. The next two, milk thistle. People tend to take that before they go on a night out. Supports a healthy liver function. Obviously, the liver is linked completely when it's with regards to alcohol. Research has shown that it may reduce free radicals, which are produced when your liver metabolizes toxic substances like alcohol. Milk thistle, a lot of bodybuilders use that as well because of the protein intake that's trying to be absorbed and digested through the liver as well. I'm not saying you guys are into bodybuilding, but that's where I initially learnt it from, not actually alcohol. Magnesium, it's an essential mineral for over 300 reactions in the body and functions. Research shows that people who consume alcohol frequently actually deplete magnesium, which again, if there's over 300 essential reactions that it has in the body, you are taking the ability for your body to utilize that. So again, a supplementation can help. It's also an electrolyte that helps with the control of hydration, which we know hydration is lost when you're consuming alcohol. There are plenty of foods that are held in magnesium. There are a lot of magnesium supplements out there on the market. I tend to take one before bed. I've also got a supplement that's got magnesium within it, just to help keep that overall mineral as high as possible. Is there anything on the vitamins there that you're shocked at or that you're already consuming? Are there anything on there that you take already? B? Yeah. Anything else? No? No milk thistle?
I know what milk thistle is, but I never heard it as
No.
a support for function.
Is it milk from actual thistle? It's not, is it? No.
Oh,
No.
I'll send you a link to
Why
the...
is it called milk thistle if it's not from a...
You know as much as me. I can't comment. I probably should have known that before. Hey Siri. So yeah, they're very interesting ones. I don't think there's any more on that. Sarah created this slide because I know Sarah is very invested into sobriety. I will touch on it. I'm very much invested into it, but I don't preach anything to anybody. We'll touch on a few things as to what she stated on there. Just an overview. It can only come from you. I was never influenced by what others were perhaps saying or what they were doing. It's only now, when I went on my stag do out 2 weeks ago, I was only influenced then by others to keep sober. And what I mean by that is Thursday when we were traveling and the Friday of the do, I am not kidding, I just wanted to drink. I was like, get me involved, get me involved. And it was only then the leverage of what others may think, i.e. Sarah, Eloise, Tammy, those who aren't drinking, it was the leverage that I would be letting them down if I didn't. So essentially straight away, it's a no-go, fuck everybody else. But if you can use that as a tool later on, if for instance that's something you explore, it's a powerful tool because I don't want to let anybody down. Yes, I'd have been letting myself down, but it was the thought of letting them down more that hurt me more. So I just didn't do that. When you feel it's the right time, give it a go. I know there's a few people who have asked me about it and whether or not it's worth doing. I just say, if you give it a try, give it a try. There are tips and tricks and tools that I used straight away, the insights I've learned, but the reasonings why I don't do it now have changed from the very beginning. So that's a really interesting insight of mine. It's not the same values as to what it actually was straight away. I mean, it's still there, but not as much as what it was. Sober Curious, I know, I'm sure there's a member who used to be here, he was a copper. He was sober, he was teetotal, but every now and then he might just go into he might have a drink at a social event. That might be something that I do. I think I might be quite open to that. Maybe a toast at the wedding. Sorry, that's what you do, yeah. So that again, there's nothing wrong with that at all either.
Never drunk at all, ever.
Ever? That's incredible. What does it?
A sip of lager or beer, don't like it.
Wow,
Never.
that's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah. Because plus, when he's like doing his racing, he always driving to different venues. And
Yeah.
always driving.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's never drunk.
There's a lot of insights from that.
It's not bothered.
No.
It's not like you have a drink. It's quite hard for me to
Yes.
drink.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
You're driving.
Yeah, that's interesting, that. Very interesting. Some of the benefits, if you're interested, save a fortune, save thousands on calories. You'll never have a hangover again. That's me. That's the one. The big one as well, Sarah's really invested into time. When you look at it, there is not a lot of time, and she's very wise in how she uses her time. And you'll find when we do drink, a lot of our time tends to go, and we don't really know where the fuck it's gone. Yes, we've created a lot of memories, we've created a lot of enjoyment, which I'm not taking away. Again, I've created a lot of really good, happy memories off it, but time, just be mindful of that. You will increase the time allowance that you've got. Relationships, that was my biggest catalyst, would improve exponentially for the better. Like the relationship that I have with Eloise now has improved like I cannot explain in the past 12 months. And that for me is so important. Yes, I'm so driven in business, I'm driven in physique, but that is one pillar of my life that I never felt I had dialed in up until meeting Elle and up until taking this out. And that some of you guys might see that as a bit of a weakness, that why can't I control myself over alcohol? But that for me is a strength, that I'm able to take something out that just doesn't suit my personality or whatever that may be. And I don't mean anything wrong with that. There was nothing wrong. It's just the relationships, the days after, the anxiety feelings that I'd get, it was shit and it weren't worth having. Productivity levels increase as well. So for me, I'd end up spending the full Sunday just absolutely monging about. It'd take me until about Wednesday, Thursday to gain traction again, and then I'd be like, oh, let's go around to Chewy's bar and have a few beers, and then it'd start again for me. And I found in the early stages of my personal training career, before this was even a thing, the only thing that I think got me through developing my career was I was just a likable person. I didn't necessarily get good results, didn't really know much, but I was just likable. And my biggest thing was, because I was so largely invested into drinking a lot and partying, it held me back a hell of a lot. Once I started to decrease that and obviously take this out, things have exponentially grown. Now, I'm not saying I know a lot of successful people who drink, and that's absolutely fine, but that for me was a big catalyst to see a lot of improvements. So journaling these things are big, like weighing up what are the pros, what are the cons to doing it, to not doing it. Who else does it impact if you do it? What negative impact does it have? What positive impact does it have if you don't drink? What are the upsides? What are the downsides to not drinking? And as soon as you just highlight these things, again, it's not that you're going to not drink, but you might just reduce the amount that you do drink, or the frequency of that. I think that's a big thing to look at. Is anybody ever looked at sobriety and thought, yes, got to do? Or do you look at what Sarah posts and do you ever think, right, fucking hell, what are these guys doing? Do you ever look at that?
I think we looked at it a lot because we used to drink quite here when we first got together. Sort of a bottle of wine a night. Never thought about it, and then we sort of said, why are we doing this? Why are we sat drinking? We're not happy with it. We're not.
No.
So we just drink on occasions or special events.
Yeah.
Christmas and that. Felt a lot better for it.
That were our biggest thing from our relationship, revolved heavily around alcohol in the early stages. And Elle said she used to worry, I never did about this, she always used to worry and think, is that what keeps us together? Is that what makes us be able to conversate with each other and keeps us happy together? I never felt that. Mine was purely for own personal reasons. I wanted to de-stress and I enjoyed the association with it. It was a reward. It's a reward for me. We'd done the 10K in Burnley the other month, but the first thing that I say after that ice cream ban wasn't get me an ice cream. What did I say? Well, get me a Desperado and lime. I wanted the reward. So as soon as you just learn some insights about yourself, and that's what I'm trying to change, is my association with alcohol and what I want it for. Mine should be more of a taste and I enjoy the taste of it rather than why I use alcohol in the first place.
I had a couple of years where I didn't drink.
Did you?
When I was single and the kids were young, and I just couldn't cope because I knew I would feel the day after, or they'd been to the dance and they were going to come back, and I knew I didn't want them to see me rough.
Yes.
So I just drove. Well, I couldn't really afford to go out much anyway, but when I did, I just drove. But it didn't bother me.
No.
Because I knew I just didn't want to be rough in the morning. It's not worth it. When kids were little, it was like, I couldn't go because they're only me.
That's it. These are things that are leverage. What can you add that's leverage for you to not do these things or to do these things? What's the positive? What's the positive outcomes? It doesn't always have to be negative. And using this as an example, last night, Cameron, he was doing a set and he's done a weight, he was doing this weight he's never touched before on this bicep curl. And we touched on adding leverage to that set of doing those reps. And what I mean by that is, he was saying, if I don't get these 12 reps at this weight he's never touched before, he's creating a negative scenario which could be linked with business, it could be family, it could be something that's like catastrophic in his own world, but it allowed him to get to that point of achievement that he wouldn't have just done walking in on Monday morning and not thought about it. So adding leverage onto things gives you a little bit more reason to follow through and do. That's one thing that's an interesting one.
One of the benefits, and it's more a work perspective, is I try and do critical negotiations on a Monday morning with outside sources. Because 9 out of 10 times you'll find that a rep likes to drink on a Sunday.
What's your reason for doing the critical?
On the Monday, because 9 out of 10 times I'm over.
But what are you gaining out of that?
I've got different answers because I don't drink, so I'm sharper, I've got all the answers and they're already on the wall.
From outside sources. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I get that. You should then help them. Hello. And say, look, boys, let's get this all sorted, or girls, sorry. Let's get all this sorted together. What you like.
Other ones are Friday afternoon because you would all the Wednesday off and that's the perfect time to negotiate.
Awesome.
I found through reading that book, that what's it called?
Wim Hof.
Wim Hof. He said, I was telling you in the morning, there's a breathing exercise he does and it cures a hangover. And it's all to do with how he breathes. It changes the blood into like an alkaline, which gets rid of the toxin. And he said within 20 minutes of doing the breathing exercise, your hangovers cure, but you've got to, it's a certain way of breathing.
Yeah.
So that book is really interesting. I've not done it. And I need time to practice it.
Yeah,
though.
yeah.
I'm like, it's having that time.
Breathing.
Not with headaches, not just hangover, it's just general how to breathe
Mm.
in a certain way. That's really good for you.
Yeah, I can imagine that. I mean, we implement that with the submersion for cold. We've got the cold tanks and the breathing. I can understand why that would actually link with hangovers, to be fair. Yeah, I can understand that. I might find a few links about that and put them into the groups, because that, I know it's, people think, oh, fucking hell, it's a bit woo-woo, airy-fairy doing all your breathing, but we all do it on a daily basis, but very shallowly. We're taking shallow breaths. We're not fully using the inhale, the vagus nerve, which absolutely. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Always.
Brilliant, guys. Right, thank you so much again for joining us on these. Like, I'm in my element teaching these. I'm trying to get better to educate you on these little things. Are they beneficial? We have not really had any much feedback. Are you happy with what you're getting and what you're seeing?
Yeah, that the first one kind of embedded what kind of already known is a good reminder.
Yeah, I think that's a big thing. We're not trying to reinvent the wheel on anything. Like, we're not them people. It's more of a reinforcement and perhaps get you to question things differently and reframe how you're looking at these things. But it's not about reinventing anything. This is just studies and research that we're trying to relay for you to maybe think, yeah, I'm going to try that, or yeah, this may work. So good. The next one, I'm not entirely sure what it is. But you will soon know. But yeah, honestly, guys, if you've got any things you want on these seminars, let us know. Like, give us a list of what you want us to do, and we can look into them. Any questions? Amazing. Thank you, guys.